Hi, everyone. Welcome back to First Principles. Today we have got Pranav with us. He's an Indian actor, and we'll be talking about acting. Hi, Pranav.
Hello.
All right, Pranav. In one of our previous conversations, you mentioned that art, any form of art, is indulgence, which is like including acting. So explain that statement. It is, in my opinion, provocative. Generally, we see that, it's not about indulgence. It's about doing and delivering and being very service oriented. So how do you come up with that statement?
See, it's very simple. Anything that is not regular,
Mm,
that we want to see. Okay, it's like when you see anything which is in the regular and the most boring form, we don't get entertained by it because that's a reality. That is something that it's like standing in our balconies and seeing life unfolding.
yeah.
There are two people walking, there's a car going on, there's a bus going on, things are going on. That's life.
Mm,
So, in order to bring that something new in it, one person comes and he wears extremely colorful clothes. He has an umbrella on his head. He's a balloon on his nose, and he's getting attention. And people are talking about him. People are making fun of him. People are intrigued by him, and then he starts recording himself and clicks selfies, and then he goes and people. So I feel that art form and storytelling or the celebrity culture or the whole idea of being a star, and
mm,
it's like it's also in today's world, social media influencers, it has nothing to do with how much they have really deeply at soul level achieved something. It is more about how are they able to entertain their audiences,
mm.
how are they able to intrigue or create interest amongst them.
Yeah.
So you have to indulge and go that extra mile to be you know uh, to be someone who you want to look at again and again and hear again and again and watch again and again. So art requires a lot of effort. It
Mm,
requires a lot of skill. It requires a lot of mind. It requires a bit of your soul, quite a lot of your
yeah.
soul,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of time. And
Mm,
putting a lot of time into something is indulgence.
yeah. Okay. All right. And also, I
Because
guess I will.
everything and say, also saying that because also the art and the artist, though it stays,
Right.
but it's a temporary moment. For example, if I'm writing a poem, I
Mm,
have written it during that phase of time, and that
yeah.
time changes. So it's
Yeah.
also transient.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, I think you've been like defined indulgence very well. So for us, can you define acting as you understand it emotionally? Right. You can go historical, talk about how it developed, but I'm more interested in what your interpretation of it is. And if there's an actor, somebody who wants to become an actor, how do they start? So explain the whole process.
So I see acting in two very different categories.
Okay.
Uh, because this is what I learned over a period of time when I started working as an actor.
Mm,
Professionally, so the business of acting is very
mm,
different, and that is also very industrial.
okay.
So, for example, I was with one of the directors, and he told me that to be an actor, an acting means that you just deliver on the instructions given to you,
Okay. Okay.
right? Which is a very industrial definition of acting. It's like
Mm,
being a waiter. He
mm,
comes to you, he takes your order, he goes to the kitchen, he does something, and he comes and he delivers your food.
okay.
You know, very close to that.
Yeah.
That is the business of acting for me. But that business of acting happens when you have the craft, the resources, your body as an instrument ready to deliver something on those instructions.
Right. Right.
Because if you do not have that skill set, then how will
Mm,
you deliver when the
mm,
instructions are given to you?
yeah.
So I feel that acting is a mix of a lot of things. Of course, life first, your language, your
Mm,
diction,
mm,
how well you can understand other people, their emotions, how well you can interpret stories. It also is a lot about your physicality.
mm,
It is a lot about understanding that you can create a world which doesn't require, uh, it majorly requires a lot of your imagination and the belief that you can transcend to what you are originally right now, but it is all coming from within you.
Talk a little bit more about the belief part. I didn't really get that part. So belief that you can transform from where to where.
So, for example, I am Pranav. I am 34 years old. I
Right,
am 5 feet 10 inches.
right,
And but if I have to play, say, Angela, who is 38 years old,
right,
is a transgender, for example, or
right,
is someone who's not sure of her, sexuality, let's say.
right,
Or if I have to play Michael,
right,
is who is an alcoholic and who has a child. So
right.
first I have to believe the fact that, okay, I have this Michael inside me. I'm not talking about my makeup. I'm not talking about how will I look. That's a
Mm,
secondary part. First,
mm,
I need to understand that, okay, is there a Michael in me?
mm,
In the sense, when I say is there a Michael in me, I'm talking about Michael's traits. Is
mm,
Michael sympathetic, or is Michael, drowning in his self-pity?
mm, mm,
You know, all those. So I question. So this is the mind. This is where the mind of the actor comes in.
mm.
He questions, and then he finds those questions within his own self
Okay,
or her own self.
right,
Right. So that is when you start believing, okay, I think Michael is alcoholic because of his mother or because
right.
of his family situation.
So you come up with these stories for yourself for character development internally, but nobody's
Yeah.
giving you these backstories. Like no writer is
Nobody's
giving you these
giving.
backstories. Oh,
So that is when. So actor is also a writer, because when you have a good script
right,
and a good director, that already a lot of characterization has been done. But even then, what happens is that the writer is writing the main plot, is writing the main story.
right.
And what actor is writing his own performance out of that main story.
Okay,
So actor
okay.
is actor is doing the micro work and the writer
Mm.
has done the macro work.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, so he's
So
doing the micro adjustments
the
to the implementation of the job.
writer,
I'm sorry, you broke up there, Pranav. Say that again.
he's interpreting the character. For example, if yeah. So for example, if my director says that, okay, Michael, you are running and you have to stop there next to the street lamp and you have to cry and you have to howl and you have to, say this, you have to improvise this line, which is not in the
Mm,
script, for example.
mm,
Then it comes on the actor that what is his trigger point. Is it just pure emotion, or is there a meaning to that emotion that he's
mm,
putting in?
mm,
And what is it? So you have to surrender to the moment, but before that you need to have a certain amount of understanding of
mm,
who you are living on screen. That's why I love the fact that I don't like to say that I'm playing a character. I usually say that I'm living a character.
okay,
And that living becomes indulgent when you make a big deal out of it. But that living
okay.
becomes a very humble and a very spiritual, soulful experience when you keep it very simple and you don't
Mm,
talk much about it. It's like an athlete. The athlete is not talking about his practice. You just see him doing that 100-meter sprint.
right, right. Okay, okay. This is beautiful. I will come and talk about the skill set, very broadly defined, required in acting. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to touch upon a story that you talked about. That when you were in school, you were in a theater production, and at the very end, you were told that you need to improvise on something because you were
Yeah.
not prepared for it. And for some reason, that became your in the world of acting that you felt at home. Talk to us about that story.
Okay, so I was 15 years old. I was in 11th standard, and we had this wonderful teacher in school called Dilip Shankar, and
Right.
he was a great guy, very simple, very loving soul, and very. He had this knack of looking at kids and finding the right person for the right thing. and
Right.
I was not aware of it. I was someone who was really shy in
Okay.
school, and I would always, though in my heart, I loved theater classes and acting in my heart, but I was always the backbencher. I would always be the last one. So I think he spotted me in our costumes, in our dress rehearsals, and 15 minutes before the final show,
Right.
he came up to me and he said, I have made a change in the show. There's a 2 minute flute sequence. You have to do this. You have to stand on a wooden log and
Right.
you have to enact like Krishna playing the
Right.
flute.
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm not doing it. I became so nervous and shy. I was already a shy kid and I was so nervous. I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'll spoil your show. And I was so nervous that I was like, I'm not doing it. And he said, he was very calm. He didn't take on my nervous energy. And like, he just did this key, ठीक है, हो जाएगा, and he smiled and he
Hmm.
went
Hmm.
off.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and then he took me to the stage and he showed me this is what you have to do, da 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 da. And in 15 minutes, the show started.
Right.
So when I did that, I, I felt so good after those 2 minutes. I was so involved
Right.
that I never felt that I'm not there in that
Okay.
moment.
All right.
And that is when I felt that I am I belong to this profession. It's my working home. This is what my soul yearns for. I need this. And if I can make money by doing this, nothing like that.
Oh, okay. That is powerful.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the story. I was 15 then.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just that awkward pause was
Yeah.
because I was
So
trying to
that is
figure it
how it
out. So,
all started.
right. Right. I'm sorry, folks. There is a bit of a delay here. So it might not come across as very cogent, but we do excuse us. It's an interesting conversation. All right. Pranav, what is the skill of acting then? What's the skill set? What do you think a typical actor should have?
See, these days things are very different because everyone has a camera in their phones and everyone is very camera friendly. So, acting has been evolving as human beings have been evolving. A person who was born in 1960s
Hmm.
and a person who's born in 2000 will not have similar sensibilities, you know. So I think acting, but the fundamentals do not change. And as we have seen some brilliant and great actors throughout the world who
Yeah.
have given us so much to learn
Hmm.
from, is that they have this ability to, uh, you know, uh, to be extremely articulate in expressing
Hmm.
who they are, who they want to be, who they will be, and there's a lot of conviction. So that
Hmm.
conviction comes from the fact that there is a lot of work that has gone behind their mind, behind their bodies, and I'm not talking about the gym bodies and the muscles
Yeah.
and all those things. The body of an actor is a totally adapting to through these, yeah, knowing yourself more through your body, through your mind. The idea of understanding a state of being, emotions. It's not about playing an emotion. It's
Hmm.
act. Act means to do
Yeah.
in dictionary. So what doing you're doing, which creates, for example, if I'm talking to you and while talking, so the talking is the doing. So
Right.
while talking to you, if something generates, if there's a laughter or you or I, we shed a tear or something like that, that's the emotion which is a byproduct of your doing.
Right.
So that is very important to understand, and the doing is the process, which is a lifelong process, which every actor finds for themselves.
So hold
So
on, hold
so
on.
when we make,
I have a question. You said the emotion is the byproduct of the doing. Is it not the other way around? That the
yeah,
doing is the byproduct of the emotion?
no, no,
Hmm.
no. So answer me, in real life, do you cry first or something happens to you and then you cry?
Okay. Yes. You got me there. Something happens to me and then I cry. But then if I want to cry
Do you
to
laugh
act,
first? Yeah.
something happens first.
You have a okay. So there's a guy, there's a boy and a girl, and they have a breakup, and both
Right.
of them are crying.
Right.
So the breakup and the emotion and the heaviness of that breakup and the times and the memories that they have spent together,
Yes.
that is the doing
Right.
which creates them to break down,
Right.
leads them to.
Mm, 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 mm,
So so now the biggest thing that an actor needs to understand is that the doing is very profound. Sometimes it can just be walking in the room while you are performing.
right.
Sometimes it could just be sitting in one place.
Right.
Sometimes it could be, creating a whole lot of backstory for your character. Sometimes
Right.
it could be, not doing any preparation
Mm,
at all and just showing up.
right.
So the sense where an actor develops this sense of how that actor needs to approach the character, and not only the character, the scene,
Right.
with respect, apart from a lot of movement exercises, a lot of training, a lot of techniques. There are so many techniques. Like Lee Strasberg talked about method. Stanislavski, it started from Stanislavski, then Grotowski. So you have Michael Chekhov. So you had all these teachers who came in and they talked about acting.
Right.
Uh, in India, we have Natya Shastra, which is about emotions, and Noras, Navras.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So these different teachers, I'm assuming that so before the first teacher came in, I'm assuming there were many practitioners who were acting in their own way. And the method that they were using to act or whatever to get into the zone could not really be extracted from the actor, from the personality. So it might be difficult to pass it on as a technique to another generation or an upcoming generation of actors. When these teachers came in the scene, uh, what differentiates them in your understanding? All these teachers that you have, name them and just give us an understanding of what differentiates them
Mm, See,
from each other,
the
and
base.
yeah.
See, I feel that one leads to another,
Okay.
in the sense that when you go deep into their craft and their teachings,
Mm,
uh, see, it's very funny. The world and the human mentality is such that we like to divide and we like to see who is better than who, and
yeah.
we like, and that's a stupid notion of being in this human world. The Middle East is better than the West and the East. Religions come in being. Mine
Yeah.
is better than yours. He's number one. Top 10 are people who come and they shed light upon something that they've been working, and they take us from darkness to light. So
Okay.
I feel that when I talk about when I went and studied Stanislavski with
Mm,
different teachers, and when I studied Grotowski with one of a very important and proficient teachers, I felt that yes, the ways are different.
mm,
Their approaches are different, but
mm.
uh, they are complementary to each other.
Okay.
They are extremely complementary to each other in how an actor can use both of them. For example, if Michael Chekhov talks about psychological gestures,
Okay.
because for Michael Chekhov, the Stanislavski method was very overbearing as a technique.
Mm,
So
mm.
he created a technique where a character could use a psychological gesture, which could just be a motion. For example, if someone is doing this
Right. Right.
or scratching the head,
Right.
what is this generating? Okay, just for example, if I'm using this and my character is irritated and frustrated, so I'm creating my frustration and irritation through this gesture,
Right.
and I keep doing it till I come to that point where I say that line or do that thing with that kind of frustration.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But another actor would do it in a way that he would sit and he would kind of go into that space and bring it internally and bring it out,
Right.
in a different manner,
Right.
and both are good.
Hmm. So
So
nothing is wrong.
sometimes nothing is wrong.
Okay.
Nothing is wrong. Everything is complementary to each other.
Okay.
So if someone is saying no, Stanislavski is great for cinema, but Grotowski isn't. But Grotowski is great for theater, but Stanislavski is not great for theater. I think
Hmm.
it's all foolish. An actor should know as much as possible,
Right.
because tomorrow you're going to land up on a stage or on film set and you would find yourself stuck in doing a particular scene or doing something, and you
Hmm.
will realize that I am short of techniques.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Hmm.
am short of a craft.
Right.
And then you will do the same thing. So I think the most difficult thing for an actor is that an actor is also a human being.
Yeah.
So because we have habits, we
Hmm.
speak in a certain manner.
Hmm.
So something that is very challenging for an actor is to be non-repetitive,
Okay.
because you're the same person who's playing different characters and you look a certain way. Your
Right.
face will not be tailor-made characters. Not all the time you're playing historical characters where they will give you a whole lot of setup,
Right.
costumes and beard and long hair and armor and all those things.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're playing just a guy next door and you won't, and your face, like I know I'm Pranav, but I'm playing
Hmm.
John,
Yeah.
who's my next door neighbor.
Hmm.
So the idea is that it's a lot of internal work.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think one of the most important factors I feel is to also let go of a lot of your ego,
Hmm. Let go of your
and
ego.
your
Okay.
your is very important. I feel, because you have to be very humble when you're approaching a character. You should not judge your character. You should not judge yourself of doing that character, playing that, or living that character, because the moment a judgment or a thought of an ego comes in, you are limiting your potential
Hmm.
of a great performance.
Okay. I have a question, but I need to set it up, right? And again, this might not be very profound, but it's mostly for my understanding. So, on the one hand, there is the actor who needs to play a particular character in a particular scene with a series of emotions that needs to come out. So, it's that particular character in that scenario. Now, imagine an energetic essence can be extracted from that particular setup. So, my understanding is that this actor is trying to capture this energetic essence and essentially, for that moment, become that. All the techniques that are taught by different teachers and different masters are for the actor to, I don't know, get ready to receive that energetic essence from that situation. So far, do you have any issues with my analogy? Do
What do
you
you
agree
mean
with
by
that?
energetic essence?
Right.
Like
There is
I want
some
to.
kind of a, yeah, that it's going to be difficult for me to define as well. But essentially, I am assuming that there is a certain essence which cannot be very easily defined because I can't define it of a particular scene happening. So there is an actor where the character is, let's say, stabbed, and they are in anguish. There are people around them, and not just what the person is going through, but what other relationships and the environment, the way they are interacting with that particular actor, all of that will have some kind of an overarching, I don't know, a package which needs to be understood and embraced by somebody. And then,
Yeah, yeah.
so okay, okay, all right. Now everybody
I got
would
your
do it
point.
a slightly
Got your point.
differently, right?
Yeah, because we are different individuals. For example, a response to, if again, so for example, if a moment of achievement
Hmm.
happens in your life
Hmm.
where you achieved something, you will react in a different way, or respond to it in a different way.
Okay.
Uh, Similarly, if someone slaps you, you may
Hmm.
react in a different way. I will react in
Right.
a different way.
Right.
It also depends on It also depends on a lot of other factors. So, for example, when you talk about energetic essence, in
Mm,
order to make it simpler, I would say that this is what I've realized over a period of time, just as in real life. If you're not involved and in that moment with any
mm,
individual, it's like, for example, there are two people talking in a coffee shop.
mm.
I have this habit of making it very simple.
Yeah.
So if there are two people who are sitting in that conversation,
Mm,
then you will not feel connected in any which way, and you will ask the other person, "Where are you? Are you here, or you're somewhere
mm,
else?"
mm,
So when we are here, when we are involved, there will be a lot of magic that will happen naturally between the two actors and the whole crew,
mm,
whether it's a cinematographer, whether it is a light man, whether it's a director, assistant director, whoever.
mm.
So they have to be there in that moment.
Right.
So there comes a lot of focus. There comes a lot of focus. It's almost like a pure meditative focus.
Yeah.
I'm there with that because this reminds me of a scene. Have you seen the famous restaurant scene of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in The Heat?
Yeah. Yeah. I have. Yeah.
So in these two great actors, they're just sitting
Mm,
across the table,
yeah.
and you don't need anything else
Yeah.
because they are so real. They're
Mm,
so in that moment.
mm.
It's one of my most favorite acting scenes because there's nothing happening actually. There's just two people talking. It's that
Yeah.
basic, simple
Yeah. But
scene. There
there's a
is
lot of tension.
nothing. They're two
There's a lot of
great
tension.
actors,
Yeah.
and they are just there.
Yeah.
So the energy is definitely in your presence. It is
Mm,
definitely in the characters. You do bring in that energy as an actor,
mm,
but it also reflects a lot on whether you are present in that
mm.
moment or not.
Okay. Okay.
Because if you are present in that moment, then
Right.
uh, then you are able to do a lot of things, and those things, and minded, those things happen by themselves.
Right.
You
Right.
don't plan. So when you are present, you don't need to plan,
Okay. Okay. I'll ask something which
because when you
might.
plan, then it becomes bad acting.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose you plan, and
Yeah,
then once you are executing, you are in the zone. You are present. No more. No more being in your head and planning at that point. That's not going to
yeah,
make
yeah,
a
yeah.
difference.
Yeah. You cannot
Okay.
be in your head while you're acting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the question basically is that is there a possibility that the human being, the actor, over
Mm.
time, because they're so good at embracing that energy of the other character and the situation, that they tend to lose who they are? Because I read a story. What's the guy? Gary Oldman. I think is he Gary Oldman? Yeah, the one who plays the butler, not the butler, the one who plays the commissioner in Batman, and of course he's done a lot of other roles. My favorite is
Yeah.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. He,
Yeah.
I think his accent is when he grew up as Cockney, so London working class. But he's so good at dictions and accents that he had to relearn Cockney after doing all these roles in different accents. So, do you encounter these stories in your day to day life, or are
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
like extreme stories?
No, no, again, there's a reason why this happens. So, for example, when you're working on your text or your voice,
Hmm.
it can become a habit because it's like you meet your friend and your friend talks in a certain manner, and then you pick up that from your friend and you also start speaking like that, and you
Yeah,
have to unlearn that. So that can
yeah,
happen, and because that's an external factor that becomes a way of speaking, and it becomes a muscle memory.
right, right,
So
right.
when we talk about things which are related to your muscle memory,
Hmm.
you start walking a certain way, or
Yeah,
it becomes a part of your system, and then you have to unlearn it.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
can definitely happen. That can definitely happen. But I feel that the actor is truly great when an actor can go through a hell lot of a preparation and psychological preparation and physical preparation, uh, and then deliver a very transformative experience for everybody
right.
and himself and everyone. and still doesn't, make it a huge story about, oh, I went through that and I did that and I couldn't be myself, I lost myself. Because I think it's a part of being an actor to also let go of the character.
Hmm.
It's your journey is not complete unless you let go of your character.
Okay.
And but just so for example, I was taking an acting class, and there was a 20-year-old boy who came to my class, and he was so constipated as an actor. Head, he head. He associated with that character. If anything else came up to him, he couldn't do it because it became such a heavy baggage on the mind.
Hmm.
And I feel that an actor should be as free as possible. So letting go of the character is definitely
A
half
skill.
of your training, should be half of
Okay.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Skill.
Okay. So, hmm.
Especially if you're working,
Yeah.
especially if you're working at that level where the stakes are very high.
So we've heard like Daniel Day-Lewis, very famous method actor. You never see any traces of Daniel Day-Lewis when you're seeing him in roles, but he takes like 5 years between two projects. Or maybe he has the kind of money to sustain himself, and not work for that long.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just wondering whether a lot of good actors, and they are good actors, whether the skill that you talked about of letting go of a character is not very well, it's not very widely taught, because that's what happens. They just don't let go of it. They
Yeah.
remain in that particular zone, and I totally get it, because you're chasing this thing for so long just to get the right voice and the right gait and the right demeanor. And then especially if it's like a long series, like 7 seasons, 10 seasons, it's hard to really just let go of that. Any
No, I don't think
technique?
so. I think
No, no. Okay, okay.
no, I don't think so. I think, see, again, I think sometimes these stories are propagated because it helps their brand
Propaganda. Okay,
in the
right.
business of acting.
Hmm. Okay, understood.
Because actors need to sell themselves also to get more work. And Streep comes up with these stories. Why is Meryl Streep so effortless? Why doesn't she
Hmm.
come with acting since so many years now? Matlab, more
Right,
than my and your age. She must be acting for more than 40, 50 years now.
right, right.
Why doesn't she
That's
come up
true.
with these? Why? Because uh, Daniel Day-Lewis takes his own time.
Hmm.
He's one of the greatest actors, and so is Meryl Streep. So is so many more, so many great actors.
Hmm.
But the idea is to understand that when, of course, the stakes are very high,
Hmm.
you are dealing with your body.
Hmm.
Mm, you have to go that extra mile to make that character, uh, to be a part of that story, and the story and the story may be something which is very profound, very deep, very maybe have a great scale.
Yeah.
Uh, there are a lot of the writing and the characters may be going through very dark, unexplored places, and you have to put yourself into it.
Right.
Uh, but at the same time, uh, the acting teachers, they specifically focus on the technique of relaxation.
Hmm.
They say have a good sleep before your performance. They say, okay, now rest. They also do meditation to let go.
Hmm.
Okay, that was that moment. Sometimes you have to do one scene in many takes in cinema, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And then you realize, okay, there is life beyond that, and then I have to come again into it. Then you
Right.
have your own family. I think
Mm.
the question for me becomes more profound when you ask me, or if you ask me that how do you manage between your real life and real life? When, for example, if you have to play this character and you have your own family,
Mm.
you have your wife, you have your children, you have your mother, father, and you have a pet dog, and and how do you balance between your real world, which is nothing close to the character that you're doing, and
Yeah.
how do people around it adjust to that, and how do
Right.
you adjust to that? So that logistical question is one part, because here the people around you who have no idea about acting or may not be interested about the process of acting,
Yeah.
they will never get you.
Right.
So that becomes a challenging situation.
Right. Right. They will never get
There
you.
was a role
Okay.
that I was doing for a play. There was a role that I was doing for a play, and I did not talk to my parents for 2 months around it.
Wow.
I'm staying in the same house.
Mm.
I would only say a word or two because my character was such a dark character that he had problems with his mother. His
Mm.
father was dead. And
Wow.
it was not that I was deliberately not talking to them.
Yeah.
It was not that I was not deliberately talking to my parents. It was just that I was in a certain zone and mind space that it didn't feel. But at the same time, I was also doing the production of that show.
Right.
So I was also doing the logistics and the production of that show. So
Mm.
for me, uh, it happens naturally.
Okay.
It's not something that you're deliberately doing.
But so what's the solution? Is there a solution
Yeah.
or just accept it?
Acceptance, and also let go of it, because once the once the whole thing is over, then
Yeah.
you are also doing promotions of your film, then you're also doing so many other things. You're also eating, drinking, sleeping. So
Yeah.
you're doing so many. Also, it is a job of an actor to do 2 to 3 things at the same time.
Right.
You just don't stop living, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's the maturity is in that the maturity and the technique and the training of an actor is that, okay, I'm talking to Sagar right now. Now I have a shot ready.
Mm.
I take 10 minutes.
Mm.
I have my lines ready. I have my script ready, and I just suddenly transform into this person. I
Mm.
gave my shot for 10 to 15 minutes, or I take 1 hour before the shot, and I come back to my zone. I know who I'm playing,
Right.
living the character. I know, and I just do it, and I come out. And then I ask my guy to, hey, can I have a cup of tea or coffee? Again, you come
Mm.
back to life after the
Mm.
shot.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So, you're getting into the character, getting out of the character is not only during the process, it's happening after every take,
Mm. Got it.
because you're asking for a lot of things after the take. You're drinking
Mm.
water, you're having chai, you're having coffee, you're talking to your co-actors, you're talking to your director. Is the shot okay?
Mm.
So no, it's not
Okay.
only about the process. It's
Right.
happening every time.
Actors who are
Yeah.
trained in different methods when they work together, is there tension? Is there a problem? Or do they generally just work together well, even if they have different methods of getting in the zone?
Well, I think there are certain techniques which are common to everybody, which
Okay.
are which have happened and have been developing over a period of time, over
Right.
centuries now.
Mm.
And I think professionally, people are so in their own spaces because of the whole business of acting and the professional setups that they
Mm.
get very limited time to discuss their processes.
Okay. 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 So
Uh,
it's a non-issue.
and
Mm.
even if they do, they have practiced their craft so much when they're working actors that they forget
Mm.
about the process.
Okay.
Because after a point, what happens that the process becomes an integral part of your system.
Mm.
So you don't even think, you just apply.
Okay. Okay. Just I don't know if you're allowed to or if you can remember, but share some techniques with us. Like what do you learn in an acting school?
A
Maybe
lot of
five.
things, a lot of things you learn. So the basic things are, you learn about You learn as basic stuff as to how to stand neutrally, so that your personality or the conditionings that you have been standing as a child, as another thing, you make it very neutral.
Right.
You start working on your speech, on your dialect.
Hmm.
Uh, you you start, doing breathing exercises. These are very basic stuff, and then you get into character development. You try to declutter yourself. You try to create backstories. There's a famous thing which Stanislavski has mentioned is his five W's: what, where, when, with. So these five W's are there that you have to question:
Hmm.
who,
Oh.
what, where, why,
Hmm.
when.
Where? Why? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So who are
Okay.
you? What are you doing? Where are you? So
Hmm.
these are very basic stuff. And then in Grotowski's style, you listen to the impulses of your body. So you feel, you try to find triggers and stimulus from your body, sometimes from your spine.
Hmm.
So you do a
Hmm.
lot of physical rotations, you do a lot of these things, you give it an emotional connect or a meaning of a feeling, not necessarily an emotion, but a feeling.
Hmm. A
And
sensation.
that feeling becomes a doing for you to get to a scene. So
What is that
here
sensation corresponding to? That
it
sensation in
could
the
be it
spine?
could be corresponding to anything. It could be corresponding to, say, excitement. It could
Okay.
be corresponding to nervousness. It could be corresponding to nothing but a
Right.
state of numbness.
Right. 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 Okay.
So Grotowski works on that. Then I already gave you an example of Michael Chekhov, that he then there are many. Chekhov worked on psychological gestures.
Right.
Uh, then there's this very famous technique. I forgot the name of the teacher. It will come to me. It was all about repetition.
Hmm.
Meisner's technique.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Right.
so he was of this opinion that you have to repeat a lot.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like you say, I love you, 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 I love you. So when you keep repeating it, it becomes more real in
Right.
its takes.
Right. Right.
So repetition is one of the techniques. A lot of actors like repetition, a lot of actors do not like repetition.
Understood. Are there any specific techniques for memory enhancement, memory
Yeah,
management? Because that's
yeah.
okay. So what is that?
Sense memory, a very
Sense memory.
famous
Okay.
technique. So
Okay.
sense memory is you work on the five senses,
Right.
uh, and you basically have these exercises that cater to the five senses, and then you analyze it in a way that, okay, I tasted cheese,
Right.
and it made me feel a certain way on my tongue.
Right.
Right. So you're opening doors to observe and receive a lot of it. It's basically increasing your sensitivity and opening your imagination, where you can use one thing as a trigger for another thing.
So let's say you have a script, you learn a line. Now, how do you use the sensory technique to remember that line? Just one
I
example.
often I often use touch a lot, like the
Okay.
sense of touch. So for
Right.
example, it works for me in beautiful manner. See, also it may not add to this line or the scene directly, but it adds to your entries and exits and the presence in the screen
Okay.
or on
Okay. Okay.
stage. So for
Got it.
example, I usually use my fingertips,
Right.
and I use it. I just, gently, very softly, just
Right.
the surface of it on a wall or on a surface, and it
Right.
may trigger, and it makes you feel something. But if I'm in the zone of the script and the character, and I'm in line with it, then while am I doing it and I have this subconsciously working everything, then it will do something to me.
Right.
Maybe it will generate an emotion,
Right.
or it will give me a sense of, depends on the character I'm playing. So it will give it some, and it may, it again, I'm saying these are tools. It
Hmm.
may, it may not. But
Right.
so the actor is also, it's also a lot of hit and trial methods.
So it's not
Sometimes
an
it doesn't,
exact science, not an exact algorithm.
because
It might work,
it
it might not.
cannot be, it cannot
Mm,
be. How can
mm,
it cannot be? We
mm.
as human beings are still trying, making robots for a perfect human, to be a perfect human being.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Too many
but
variables.
we do come close to, we have come very close
Yes.
to it. And acting is also like that. We come very close to things. But yeah, it sometimes it doesn't work,
Mm,
and you feel very stuck there.
mm,
So, for example, I'll just give you an example. I was acting in a music video, being
mm.
directed by one of my friends, and that music video was about a breakup,
Right.
and I don't feel those emotions anymore about a breakup or something. Because I think I have progressed in my life, that I feel
Mm.
that it doesn't affect me so much
Right.
as a person.
Right.
तो मुझे
Right.
लगता है यार, अरे यार, same old shit, same thing, like. So then, when I was not feeling anything, so I did not tell anybody, but I had my techniques and my tools to at least
Right.
save my grace in that scene,
Okay. 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 So you
to
can
do
still do it, huh?
something,
Okay.
because it is not my problem to be in the context. My
Mm,
That is the problem of the director and the
mm,
editor and all this.
mm,
My
mm,
problem is that if I'm given the scene,
mm.
am I able to deliver what is expected out of the feeling that needs to come out of that scene,
Yeah. Yeah. I was,
right?
go ahead.
So I there was a scene where I had to give a particular look
Right.
into the camera, where the lift is closing, lift door is closing, and just my close up.
Right.
It was not it, and it was one of the last shots of the music video. I was not able to give it, in the sense
Mm.
I was not feeling it for
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to
Okay.
take 5 minutes. I had to do something to myself,
Right.
come and give that shot, but it had nothing to do with the breakup and the girl and anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought of something else completely.
Right.
So, it could also be related. For example, I'm thinking about breakup and the whole context of breakup, but I may be thinking of a child who
Mm,
lost his whole family in a war,
mm, mm, mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I need to get that. So my process, or my thinking process, also stems out of what kind of a person I am.
Right. Right. I was about to ask you, if somebody is super sorted, can they become a good actor? And I was about to think that the answer is going to be no, but I think the answer is yes, they can, because the techniques can really bring them in a particular way. Even if they don't really care about breakups anymore, they can still emote.
Yeah, because see, breakups is love, and physical love is something which happens to everybody, and everyone deals it in a very different manner.
Mm,
But we have seen too much of it over
mm,
the years. We have seen so many movies, we have seen so many music videos. And it's a very regular emotion.
yeah.
This whole idea of love, physical love, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever. It's the feeling doesn't change. It's the same feeling.
Right.
So, because my problem with it is that we have seen so much of it and we have experienced so much of it, that sometimes a person, being a human being, they transcend over it.
Mm,
They
mm.
don't think it as a very important emotion in their lives,
Yeah.
because they have grown over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you can deliver, because the also acting is all about uh, believing that it's happening to you for the very first time.
Right. Right. True.
And there
How?
are
Yeah. No,
and
go ahead.
acting can also, I feel that one more very important thing is that acting cannot be taught, it can be learned though, which is a paradox of acting. because
Okay.
because a very important factor in it is what kind of a person you are, one, how receptive you are,
Mm,
second, how are you able to apply things to your work,
mm,
how much how is it possible that you can riyaz without a script and an audience
Hmm.
and a co-actor? How is it that you are able to, sustain yourself through life of being an actor? So
Right.
definitely it can be taught. You can go to a workshop, there's an acting teacher, he can teach you 10,000 things.
Hmm.
But will it make you a great actor? Maybe, maybe not.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So naturals do exist. They employ these techniques automatically because these were identified in the first place. They were discovered. Nobody like invented it from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. I don't know. Okay. Um, how are the techniques that an actor deploys different in a theater setting versus a film setting versus like a mini series or like a TV series, web series, etc.? Or is there a
Uh,
difference?
yeah, there's a massive difference. See, theater is an actor's medium.
Okay.
Wherever there's camera, it is not an actor's medium, it is a director's medium.
Got it.
Why I say that? Because see, films, they work in. It's like you're putting, whether it's a series or a film, it works on cuts. It works
Right.
on, so there are small pieces of a puzzle that come together.
Hmm.
In theater, once the show is on, unless it's a very commercial thing, where there's a large show and there's an interval in between, that's a different matter. But even then, it's not a different matter because that interval is for 10 minutes and then again. So you don't have cuts. Nobody says cut it in theater.
Yeah.
You enter the stage and you're there, and nobody can save your life if you fumble. There is no retake.
Right.
You have to give 20-minute speech in one go, or you have to do
Right.
that 20 minutes, 30 minutes in one go. You
Yeah.
can, if you fuck up, you fuck up. You have to improvise. You have to let the show on. So theater is more organic. Theater
And
is
you
an
keep
active.
doing it day in and day out.
Yeah, you have to keep doing it day in day out. I mean, also it's a practice. Like not every actor wants to do theater after one point of time when they do cinema.
Right.
But I think all the theater actors have been, it is who I have heard and who have been my inspiration. They have been extremely thankful and grateful to the world of theater and the time they spent in theater, because also theater gives you the liberty to also be an intellectual, because you're
Okay.
not worried about the masses so much. You're not worried about them because you know that you'll not make money, so you
Hmm.
don't let the money get into your head also while you're doing
Hmm.
theater. So
Hmm.
I think theater is less complex in terms of its money generation, uh, and also that's why it suffers also, because it's not
Hmm.
sustainable and a lot of people leave theater. So uh, and it's tough to come up with theater productions also, because you end up spending money also.
Yeah.
Uh, but theater gives you liberty to take up a novel. You want to um, you can do it in an intimate setting also. I can do theater piece in a friend's drawing room, for example, and call 10 people to watch it.
Right. Right.
But and also I think cinema is more opened up. Cinema requires a scale, it requires a certain setup, it requires a certain, you know uh, it creates its own canvas, which I feel is larger than theater, because cinema is consumed at a larger level, and
Yeah.
cinema is I feel cinema is more demanding
And you can do
in
more. You can do a lot more, like
uh, demanding
immersion
not for
wise.
actors.
Right.
I think when it not for actors, cinema is not very demanding for actors. I think theater is more demanding from actors,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
cinema is more demanding from everybody,
Right.
from like the whole everyone, from art direction to production design to crew, lights, camera, sound, everybody, every department, set
Right.
design. Yeah.
So in these opposite, like these things at the opposite end of a spectrum, theater versus cinema, where would you put web series, TV series, mini series, music videos, short films? Where do these come in?
See,
Or is it? Yeah.
I can only see a medium which has camera in it and a medium which is not. So you're acting for the camera and you're acting for the stage without a camera. So every mini series, TV series, web series, short films,
Hmm.
music videos, they all have a camera attached to it.
What about in Hotstar a few years ago? I do remember that they had filmed like natak, like filmed stage drama.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that has a
yeah, yeah.
camera, but it's still the actor's medium. So what do you make of that? Like, does the
Yeah, so
dichotomy
what
fall
they
here?
do is that what they do, how they stage it is that they don't disturb the actors and they say you act it out for the camera. So they have a 3 to 4 camera setup.
Right.
There is no cut that they say. So they roll the
Okay.
camera and they let
So it's a
them perform.
CCTV. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's a CCTV with
Got
different
it.
angles.
All right.
So
Okay.
there
I
was a
mean, all
show.
this.
There was a show in Doordarshan that came long time ago, which was done on 3 camera setup. It
Right.
was a comedy show, and so because they never wanted that the actors are uncomfortable and they have to do a lot of retakes and stuff like that. They used to do online editing also because they had this 3 camera setup, tuck, 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 and they used to change
Done.
different
Yeah.
lenses, different magnifications.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, but my answer to your question, I want to say one more thing is that because I make my own films also. So as a filmmaker, I feel that my filmmaking is I prefer films over theater as a medium. Why? Because one, I can reach out to more people
Mm,
by sending a link. Secondly, I can say very profound things in a very subtle manner.
mm,
Thirdly, I can have the liberty to go to real locations
mm,
and not create a set all the time
right.
and shoot and
Mm,
be and get more involved in, because I feel coming back to the energetic essence, a lot one thing that we missed,
mm,
your location and where you are shooting in that physical place also holds a lot of energy for you to
mm.
be.
Interesting.
So an actor also uses uh, that place. For an example, have you seen Vikings on
I mean,
Netflix?
no, I have not seen the series. I know of it though.
So there's a scene in which Ragnar Lothbrok,
Right.
played by Travis Fimmel, he is sitting and he's talking to himself in front of the camera, where it's like his character's personal conflict which is being shot,
Right.
and he's sitting in a place with a mountain and then there's a sea or a river in front of him and just him in that landscape. For, of course, why I said it's an actor's medium now, stage, is that if I have to do that scene on stage, there's a lot on me that goes because I have to imagine that I'm sitting in that kind of a location, which is not, because
Yeah.
I know in front of me there's an audience and then I'm
Yeah.
sitting on a stage. So a lot of my effort goes into that. I have to also convince myself that I'm there, and so that the audience also gets convinced that I'm sitting in a place with a mountain and there's a river flowing. Okay. Now, for that scene there, already half of the work is done because Travis Fimmel and Ragnar and his performance, he only needs to take care of his performance, which has gone to another level already,
Yeah.
because the actor is now using the physical space and the location for
Yeah.
his own performance and is also taking the trigger or using that place for his own performance.
Mm. Interesting. Okay.
So
Okay.
one of the reasons why I prefer that cinema is such a powerful medium,
Mm.
uh, that it can really impact our lives in more than just ways of entertainment, but other ways.
Okay. Okay. Um, the other stakeholders that typically work in tandem with actors, who are they, and who are the most important for actors?
Writers,
Writers. Okay. Any kind, stories to screenplay, anything.
any kind, like especially writers who are writing for theater and films,
Mm.
because they get in touch with you. And I think writers and also directors with great vision, directors who know how to work with actors. So directors who do not want to be actors
Mm.
and directors who do not despise actors.
Okay, no
So
conflict of interest
there
then.
are I have found three kinds of directors. One are the directors who want to be actors who could not be actors but became directors, and they want to be actors, so they start acting in front of actors,
Right,
like you do like this, which is the worst. The second worst is there are directors who are technically very sound
right.
and they know what they're doing and they're
Yeah.
very good, but they don't know how to work with actors because they're not expressive. They're very technical, they are not
Right.
expressive enough. And the third ones are the greatest of them all is they know their job,
Mm,
they are, very flexible,
mm,
they listen to their actors, they merge what the actor is doing with their technicalities, and they make it a team effort. So they're the great leaders basically. They
right,
listen to
right.
everybody and then they have their own say and they have their own vision, and
Mm,
they never let any actor or any technician for that matter feel that they're not part of their project.
right, right, right,
Just for
right.
example, that in a recent short of I did a film recently, a very small role in a very big film I did recently, and in that film I was made to change clothes before my shot was taken and shown to director. Like my costume changes were happen, and they were making me wear all the branded t-shirts and jeans and this and then shoes. And then I asked my director that my character would not wear such things because he's depressed.
Mm,
He wouldn't bother to look nice.
right.
So he said, "You're absolutely right."
Mm,
He heard me and then he called his costume designer and he said, "Get me a white plain shirt
mm,
and cut it like a bridge thing from below and just let him wear blue jeans with
mm,
slippers
mm,
and nothing else."
mm.
वो अलग बात है that the costume designer had to go 2 hours away from the set to a market and get it done बेचारी. But अगर वो पहले मेरे साथ टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करते तो ये पहले ही हो जाता.
Yeah, yeah.
But glad that the director gave me a moment to
Mm,
hear from and he
right.
agreed.
Mm,
तो वो वैसा ओपननेस होनी बहुत जरूरी है मेरे को ऐसा लगता
right. Right. Okay.
है.
So what other stakeholders can have like more of an impact with you? So like in the technicians, like the technical fields or sound or
Co-actor.
editing, of course, right? Co-actors.
See, एडिटर के साथ आपका ज्यादा लेना देना नहीं होता because you're working in different places. You've already shot your film
Right.
when it's come to the table. I think your co-actor
Right.
is very important. Your makeup,
Right.
costumes,
Right.
very
Very
important.
important.
To some extent, a large extent, your cinematographer.
Your cinematographer, if you are dancing, like, do you
No,
sing
that
as
is
well?
sorry,
Oh, that's
cinematographer, not
choreographer. My
choreographer.
bad. My bad. My bad.
Yeah,
Cinematographer is the ones. Right. Right. Right.
even if you're dancing, you're choreographer. But I think you're cinematographer because sometimes what happens is the director and the cinematographer are like husband and wife.
Mm,
So अगर आपकी वाइफ और हस्बैंड दोनों से बन रही है so you're a
mm,
good friend to them. और
yeah.
अगर एक से बननी कम हो जाती है
No
तो
problem.
थोड़ी सी इरिटेशन दोनों में आती है.
Okay. So that's how you navigate it. Now, in your opinion, what's the difference between a director and a producer or a showrunner in a case of a series?
See, as an actor, it doesn't matter because
Mm,
it doesn't really matter because you are doing your job
right.
and you are a very see unless you are a very big star and you
Mm,
are calling the shots and the show is dependent on you or you're playing a character which is so it is so one character driven plot where your involvement is so important, then it matters. But otherwise if you're doing a tertiary or a secondary role or even a role for say 2 seasons, 2 episodes, 3 episodes, it doesn't really matter because your job is not to develop the project.
mm,
Your job is not to also deliver the project.
right.
Your
Right.
your part is to shoot, be there while the process is on, while the
Right.
rehearsals are on, and you
Right.
are a small you are just one part of the whole thing.
Mm,
So of course people watch things for actors also, audiences watch things for actors and stuff like that. Actors are important, but I don't think actors are so important
mm,
that they can take over the project. I think the whole idea that actors have been given too much importance. uh, because also they are either they are not taken care of at all, or they are, treated like kings
Gods.
and queens. Huh.
Yeah.
So that's the sad part. Like
Yeah.
if you have made it and you're a big star, then everyone is around you, you are being pampered, everything is around you. But if you're not and
Mm,
still a great actor,
mm,
nobody even asks. Nobody even
yeah.
gives your payment on time,
Right.
which is like peanuts.
Mm, mm. And they
So
don't even give it on time. Wow. Yeah.
yeah, not on time and peanuts.
Mm,
Not respecting you. You are the most vulnerable person
mm,
because you want to act, you want to be seen so that you get more work,
yeah.
and then you don't get money which you need desperately
Mm,
also,
mm.
because that is if you're totally dependent on that.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's not just a vocation. Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
then you have
Yeah.
to make friends with people on the set so that you network with them,
And make
which
money
they
and,
also get to
get,
know,
yeah.
that he's trying to be friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I think
they have their bullshit detectors, right? I'm sure in the industry, the bullshit detector is pretty high because you
yeah,
know
yeah.
when you're being played, right?
Also, I think the worst, I can only talk about Hindi film industry right now, is that the worst
Mm,
thing of Hindi film industry is that the systems are so wrong
mm.
that even with the corporatization of film industry like Netflix and other things, corporations have come in.
Why that?
It has still become easier for the makers.
Mm,
The market has become, but for the lowest level of workers, whether it is technicians or actors or
mm,
writers,
mm.
people who are not executives or people who are not mounting the project or people who are a part of that project, they still remain vulnerable a lot of time.
Right. Right.
And that too when they're working with the biggest of the production houses.
Yeah. Still doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah, that is a sad part of the whole
Yeah.
game. But I think it should change with time. It's a little better in Hollywood, so as my friends say, who have worked
Mm,
there.
mm.
In India, in Bollywood, it needs a lot
Sure.
more humanity
Mm,
to
yeah.
seep into,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and there's a lot of disparity in terms of the payments and other things that happen,
Yeah.
and that needs to be understood.
I have a slightly tangential question. Like in any any filmish project, you see the credits roll up, and the credit culture takes, I think, it's considered very important in this industry. Now, let's say I buy a MacBook. I don't get like a list giving me the credits of every person who assembled this particular portion, or this person who got, this mineral out, and this person who designed this particular architectural system. Why do you think the whole credits culture is considered very important in the industry, and people are really honored that they say, okay, oh, my name was credited and this name was not credited? Like, do you have any opinion on this?
So my opinion on it is, I don't know. It's very, it can happen. It can happen out of error.
Hmm.
It can, you're working with 150, 200 people on a film project.
Right, right,
Uh,
right. No, but the fact is that they want, like, at the end of every project the credits roll up. I'm just thinking that this like an old tradition, because it's not in any other project
Yeah,
that in any
it's
other
nice.
industry do you
No,
see.
so it is
Right,
very important. It is very important for the credit roll because people need to know who are the people behind making a film.
right, right, right. So do
And
you feel
people who
insulted? Sorry.
are,
I'm
pardon?
saying, do you feel insulted when in like places like the streamers, Netflix, Amazon, you have an option to just skip the credits? It's like, is
Uh,
that insulting?
See, I don't take it as insulting because I felt that the digital world has done some things which have been great at certain level, and at certain level it has been extremely destructive.
Hmm, hmm,
So definitely when I'm watching a film in cinema halls,
hmm.
I don't stand unless the credit rolls are over.
Right.
I sit there and people just get up and they go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to sit there because I'm a film person. I
Yeah.
belong to the industry and I want to know who is who.
Hmm.
Also because I want to, if I like their work, I want to go home. I want
Right.
to IMDb them, Google them, and see what they have done. And
Right.
maybe I make a list that I want to work with that person because I love their work in that project.
Right.
But and I want to be appreciative of them because maybe they have done something. mind blowing.
Right. Right.
But for audiences, they don't have the patience to, and I don't blame them, because sometimes they are just tired of sitting in the cinema hall and they don't like the film, and they
Mm.
just want to get up. They're just being nice that they have sat till the end.
Mm.
Um, Also, it's an overwhelming experience at times. So they just want to get, they really like the film, and then now they want to get out and they want to be with it, or maybe they want to have something to drink and eat, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is not my problem. Coming back to your question that on Netflix, if they have this option to skip the thing, see, that is what the digital world has done.
Mm.
It's so consumer oriented and consumer focused that, especially when it comes to storytelling, nobody knows really what will work and what will not work.
Right.
Uh, because that's why film business is so interesting, is that even the biggest of the filmmakers and the actors and the directors who have been, very, very successful, even if you ask them before their project, will this run or not, they don't know.
Mm. Mm.
They're only concerned with their only way of getting to a project is that whether I will be able to secure this project or not,
Right.
in the terms of money. And that is what I'm trying to do with my film as well,
Mm. Mm.
because I don't know whether this film will, I can be very aspirational and very, determined, and I have this whole faith in the universe, and say, yes, this film
Mm.
will do well because I've put in that intention in that film.
Right. Right.
But on the business side of it, I said, "Bhai, मैं इतना पैसा लगा रहा हूँ इस film में,
Mm.
whether I'll be able to recover this money or not,
Mm.
or how much of it or maybe I will recover it from different sources,
Right.
from
Right.
different territories, from different
Mm.
places,
Mm. Yeah.
right?" So I think credits, when it comes to credits role, mm, I, as an industry oriented person from the film industry, would like to see the credit rolls. But I understand that people from other sections of the society who are not concerned with the film industry, they may not want to see it,
Okay. All
because
right.
industry also, our our watch patience of watching something has reduced a lot.
Mm. Yeah.
Our at a, capacity to be, times are really fast. It's very digital.
Right.
It's
Right.
very
Right.
fast.
True.
So it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a mixed bag. Okay. Last segment of the podcast. So I'm going to ask you, my rate of questioning is going to like increase. How do you distinguish between a professional actor and a star?
Oh, it's very simple.
Hmm.
When you are loved so much by people that,
Right.
irrespective of your acting abilities,
Right.
that they relate to you and they aspire to be like you,
Yeah.
and you have you have pumped. I think what happens with stars is that they create a character out of their own personalities,
Right.
and that personality becomes a habit to be consumed by the audiences,
Hmm.
which I feel is a very business oriented thought,
Yeah.
a very money oriented thought, I would say, a
Yeah.
very uh, whereas an actor for me is somebody who, would be least interested in his own personality.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think greatest of the actors are very boring people.
Yeah. 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 I I think I agree. Yeah.
For
Hmm.
example, because they are so free, they
Hmm.
are so selfless,
Hmm.
that they are so simple.
Hmm.
But when you see them on screen, they are totally different.
Right.
Whereas, for example, when you see Shah Rukh Khan or Salman Khan, in spite of their acting talent, whatever they are,
Hmm.
or but they use a lot of their personalities. They have this, created their brand in certain way that, I'm not saying that they're bad actors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying that they have created a world which is also very difficult to do. They
Hmm.
have created a world for them to sustain in a massive way,
Yeah.
which I think is very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So, so kudos to them. But yeah, and it has its consequences also. Everything has
Yeah.
its own consequences, and
I
yeah.
would say there
But
are there are. Yeah.
Yeah, carry on.
I was just saying that there might be some exceptions, like Kevin Spacey. When I see him, although I know this is Kevin Spacey, I don't see any Spacey coming out when I see him in projects like movies and
Yeah.
like as
See,
Frank Underwood.
Hollywood has a very different culture.
Okay,
Also America, Indian culture and American culture are very different. For example, when you see a Manoj Bajpayee, for example,
yeah,
or you see an Nasiruddin Shah or a Pankaj Kapoor or an Irfan Khan,
right,
uh, see what happens in Western countries or especially Hollywood as a film industry, that is very developed.
right,
There is a lot of, it's a study, it's a research. There are schools, people
yeah,
work a lot. In India, acting has a lot to do with attitude. It has to do a lot with moods. It has a lot to do with and pure entertainment and things that they, for example,
right.
it's unfortunate that Shah Rukh Khan is known by his pose rather than the characters that he has played
Yeah,
over the
yeah,
years.
yeah. I mean,
It's
like in
very
Dar,
unfortunate. It
yeah,
is very unfortunate
yeah,
because Indian audiences, they remember that. But now things are
mm,
changing because things have become very global, and
mm.
people are consuming a lot of cinema and other things from different parts of the world.
The tastes are changing.
Whereas, yeah, things have changed a lot.
Mm,
But Irfan Khan once said that in India people are not interested in nuances in acting.
mm,
They're interested in
mm.
the attitude of the character only.
Okay, okay, okay. I mean, yeah,
So when we talk about America, people play nuances there.
mm,
There is a lot of depth. Even small little things are taken care of. There's a lot of nuanced work.
right,
In India, our culture is so loud.
mm, mm,
We hardly see subtle nuanced performances.
mm,
And then if someone does it, we overrate it or we
right.
underrate it. And so subtlety and sensitivity gets cornered here.
Have you seen an action hero, Ayushmann Khurrana's movie?
No, I haven't. I have to.
I think it's a great movie. I don't know how they did it. They simultaneously they are being sarcastic and paying homage to the film industry and to media and to
Yeah.
everybody else. It was an amazing movie. I couldn't believe this when this came out, and I was like, why is this not more famous? So again, these movies they might not do that well, but well,
Yeah.
So one
Yeah, I
next
mean,
one.
Sriram Raghavan is one of the greatest directors,
Oh
I
yeah,
think. He's very good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What was the movie with Urmila Matondkar where she leaves, I guess, Saif Ali Khan to die with the rats? Ek Hasina Thi. That was a good movie. Give me
Ek
chill.
Hasina Thi, yeah.
It was chills, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Moving on from this, you said there is the craft of acting and then there's the business of acting. So very briefly, what is the business of acting?
To find work primarily, to understand how to audition, to understand
Okay.
who to reach out to casting directors and stuff like that. Also,
Right.
I think really to understand what is the market working on, whether there is an opportunity for a young new actor to work, or no, they already want to take established actors, and you can only get a small side role if they need. So you need to understand, and also a lot of waiting time,
Right.
waiting for the right opportunity. Also to understand that, okay, if I'm not getting work, then how can I survive? Because I
Right.
have to pay my bills, I have to
So
buy
other
clothes.
skills. Right.
So you need to understand, okay, can I be a copywriter? Can I do content?
Right.
Can I take acting classes? Can I teach in a school? Can I do something or the other? So that
Right.
I make money. Uh, like for example, I also work in some other field sometimes,
Right.
right? Only to sustain, knowing that it's temporary and knowing that for the fact that I have to get back to acting, but
Yeah.
when the time will come,
Right.
because not it's not necessary that your work will lead to another work.
Right. Right. True
So
that.
it's very
Yes.
important
So,
for you to understand what will lead to getting that work.
and if you do get successful, how to manage your money, invest your money in a certain way that will give you a livelihood, even if you don't get work.
Yeah, that's very. So if you get successful, the idea is to sustain that success,
Yeah. Yeah.
and keep working hard. Um, and I think they're great examples. But the idea is to take one day at a time and
Right.
also, be happy. Business of acting is very tough, very, very
Mm,
tough.
mm.
Because it is not determined on the factor that how good you are all the time.
Right.
It's
Right.
also determined on several other factors.
Yeah. Yeah. True
Because
that.
yeah, because it's not very secure. So you need
Mm,
to also business of act for business of acting. If you need to understand, you also need to understand business of movies.
mm. True that.
Once you understand the business of movies, you will be able to understand business of acting better.
Could could an actor who doesn't really have aspirations of being a star but really likes acting make a decent living in India just working in different theater groups, acting like a salary
Uh,
or no?
Not really, not in
Mm.
theater groups, but there are few people who have been able to do it, but they come from a certain educational background and they have an educational circle or some kind of a circle, or
Sometimes
you know
people come from money as well, so they can sustain themselves for a while.
yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
But I
Okay.
think schools do give an opportunity. These days schools are paying very well to
Hmm.
theater professionals and teachers and for
Okay.
schools. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, not so much, because those application of that skill set in other fields of work may be useful, may not be useful.
Right. Right. True that. Um, you mentioned about the Indian tradition in acting. What's the name?
So it's called Natya Shastra.
Natya Shastra. Okay.
Natya
And
Shastra. It's very similar to the kriyas and the emotions that are shown in classical dances like Kathakali and Bharatnatyam.
okay.
So they work on primarily the nine emotions, जिसे हम नवरस कहते हैं,
Navras. Okay.
which are Karuna, Shringar, Veer Ras,
Right.
all those kind of ras. Uh, so उसका जो इमोशन है, तो बहुत क्लासिकल एक्टिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आता है. अब मॉडर्न डे एक्टिंग में मुझे नहीं लगता वो बहुत ज़्यादा यूजफुल होता है.
Right.
But हाँ, when you do classical texts like Shakespeare or Indian classical texts like Kalidasa, uh,
That's where it's useful.
और स्पेशली ओल्ड टाइम एक्टिंग महाभारत एंड ऑल दैट, अगर वो सारी चीजें
Right.
कर रहे, एपिक्स कर रहे, तो फिर उनका थोड़ा सा उनकी अपनी जगह है और बहुत यूजफुल होता है वहाँ पे मेरे
Right.
हिसाब
Right.
से.
Right.
नवरस कहते हैं हम लोग कि नाइन इमोशंस जो ह्यूमन बींग्स
Right.
के अंदर,
Right.
जिसमें जेलसी एक है, करुणा एक है, कंपैशन, श्रृंगार, अपना
Right.
श्रृंगार करना एक है,
Right.
क्रोध का एक है,
Crow's
वीरता
anger.
का
Right.
एक है.
Right.
तो
Okay.
उस तरह के इमोशंस.
All right. Last question. Melodrama versus realism. Do you have a choice? Do you like something, dislike something? What are the benefits of both?
Depends on the scene, depends on the intention of the director and the writer,
Okay.
depends on because sometimes melodrama could also be real depending on
Hmm.
the character.
Hmm.
If I'm playing a drunkard who's shouting and crying on the streets, I would love to be melodramatic in it.
Right. 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 Right.
Because I will get the opportunity to do something which I cannot do in my real life.
Right.
But if I'm
Okay.
asked to also play it real,
Hmm.
even that would be great to make it subtle and real. But yeah, again, it depends on the story, it depends on the script, it depends
On the
on the
audience
writer.
expectation as well.
Also genre. If it
Genre.
is
Right.
comedy,
Right.
it could go in that space of melodramatic.
Right. Right. Right.
It
Perfect.
depends totally. It depends what I'm doing it for.
Perfect. All right. This was great, Pranav. This is the end of the podcast. You've been very kind with your time. Do you have any parting thoughts?
No, it was great. I think the questions were amazing.
Thank
You
you.
got me back to acting. I was doing a little bit of other stuff, and my focus was elsewhere. And I'm very happy for this podcast
Thank
because
you.
I was also listening to myself and listening to you while we were talking, and I felt that yeah, it's good practice to talk about
Yeah.
acting. And I felt that I just had a rehearsal.
Perfect. Well, that was the idea. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. See you in the next
Thank you.
episode.
See you.
Bye bye.